Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with a Southern flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jared Roser, mother. Today we are previewing the college football
Clanks
games
off the
this
back
weekend.
iron and the streak is done.
The Saints and Cowboys game. We are also going to go over our winner for this week's top play of the week. Jarrett, the streak's over. Oh,
Yeah.
there it is. Oh, how are you?
Ice cold. What's cooler? Ice cold.
I shook it like a Polaroid picture, which you're not supposed to do. So, let's kick this thing off, man. You ready to go? You ready to get into this? Ready to get into our blazing seven? I didn't like that. We'll workshop something. We'll workshop something.
That's definitely not it, though.
Yeah, that's out. That one's gone. We get that one out of there.
It's it's been a weird week down here. Obviously, Hurricane Francine.
Oh yeah,
through, and I mean, it was interesting at the end of Brian Kelly's presser on Thursday. Folks asked, "Is that your first hurricane?" And he said, "Yeah, that wasn't it. That's nothing compared to one of these Boston and I'm not even going to slip into an accent here, but he went into a Boston nor'easter would be tougher than that." And I think overall, it was certainly in Baton Rouge. We did not catch a whole lot of it. A lot of flooding and issues down Houma through St. Charles Parish and Jefferson Parish and up through Tangent and whatnot. But from Baton Rouge on west, we caught very little. And so a lot has been shuffled around in terms of practice times throughout the week at every level of sports. And then the high school schedule has been shifted around an awful lot the last few days. But, from LSU standpoint, Brian Kelly said that they handled the week really well and they're ready to head up to South Carolina. So glad all that's behind us. Hopefully everyone that did see some damage is shaken back.
Yeah, absolutely. If you do have damage or anything, we hope that gets solved for you as quickly as possible and you can get back onto the little bit of normalcy. But that's what we're going to try to do here. Let's talk about some games. Let's talk about some football. LSU at South Carolina at 11 a.m. It's going to be on ABC. You know how I feel about 11 a.m. games, man. I get nervous. I get all squeezy. That's why I start pointing in the wrong direction.
What does squeezy mean here?
I don't know.
Not to take us off the rails, but yeah, I mean, 11 a.m. game has not always been great for LSU, and whether or not they come out on top of it, just the starts more often than not through the years and through multiple coaching staffs have felt kind of funky. And I don't think that's just an LSU thing, but obviously we watch LSU more closely than any other college program in the country. And then this week is the SEC opener on the road for an 11 a.m. game. So all the travel, college game day, storm week, all these things, the injury bug that LSU's been dealing with. And so it's a worrisome game going up there to face a Gamecocks team that's fresh off of a really big win against Kentucky. And I don't know, are you feeling squeezy already? Or
so I figured out what that means. It means like I feel queasy, but all my insides are being compacted into a little nugget of fear. That's what it is.
Sure.
That's what it is.
It
is a technical term. Well, I do think LSU, I'm going to pick LSU for the win. I think there are a couple things to look up with what we talked about kind of earlier with LSU's defense kind of getting gashed by the run in the first two games. How is that going to hold up? Because Sanders over at South Carolina, he is a really dynamic running back, especially if you let him get space. He's averaging almost 4 yards a carry. And then another thing, Garrett Nussmeier hasn't been sacked yet this year. And South Carolina team already has 10 sacks through 2 games. So I know our line is one of the strengths of the LSU team. So are they going to be able to hold up? And we've seen what Nussmeier can do when he's upright. When he's upright, he's been seeing the field. I mean, amazing. He's got over 75% completion percentage. He's got 8 touchdowns, only 1 pick. I think that will be the key. I think that offensive line, keeping him upright. If Nussmeier's upright, I think he'll be able to put the ball where it's supposed to go and maybe take away from possibly some of those defensive inefficiencies that we're going to have. But I came and prepared today. Okay.
Wow.
Curse jar.
Burnt your curse jar on it. That's how hype you are. And I commend you for that. I think you're spot on when you look at the defensive end duo of South Carolina and Stewart and Kennard, and really that whole defense and their ability to get after opposing passers. That versus LSU's veteran offensive line, anchored by their two fantastic junior tackles, is kind of, I think, one of the more intriguing matchups around the country this weekend. And I like, look, I'm going to go to war with, bet on, whatever, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, and that LSU offensive line pretty much against anyone. And so I'm going to trust that they hold up, hold their own. Like you said, Nussmeier has done well. Brian Kelly talked about how good of a job early on in his career as a starter now at that quarterback position Garrett has done in terms of identifying and managing his protections and whatnot. And so I have a lot of faith that LSU will be able to put up some points, get into the high 20s, low 30s at least. And I think that should be enough to go out there and win this game. And on the flip side, I look at a defense that just allowed an FCS, albeit a good FCS team, a good FCS running back, a guy that I was really excited to see that for Colin Guggenheim, but an FCS team nonetheless, gash you on the ground in Tiger Stadium. And now you go against a South Carolina team that has what they have in terms of the ability to, I mean, Sellers can burn you a little bit if you sell out on Sanders, and you bring Robbie Ashford in there for some snaps, a guy that we've seen in terms of just being able to hurt LSU when he was back at Auburn with his legs and whatnot. And they have weapons on the outside too, but how that running game looks against an LSU defense that was already having trouble and now is without their top defensive tackle and has some banged up safeties and all of these things going on. And so I think it's going to be a really interesting weekend for the Weeks brothers, Greg Penn, Harold Perkins and company, and how LSU wants to use them and how they hold up in terms of run fit.
Now, I'm just looking at this right now. Sellers has 7 less carries than he does pass attempts this entire year. So it'll definitely be on the lookout for a dual threat. And how is this defense going to hold up is something I'm going to really be kind of keying in on with my early wake up. I also just hate 11 a.m. games. Why? You
just hate 11 a.m. And
I hate 11 a.m.
You're not excited.
I hate 11 a.m. It usually means that I'm getting under like 6 hours of sleep. That's what it usually means for me.
Yeah.
An 11 a.m. game usually means that, hey, I'm going to be rocking on a 4 to 5 hour day, and my old bones can't take it anymore. Next up, we've got Tulane. They're going to be at Oklahoma. This is a 2:30 game. It's going to be on ESPN. Tulane coming off of a heartbreaking loss. Oklahoma's been doing stuff. I don't know, whatever. What's your takeaway on this game, Jarrett?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get down there and spend some time with Coach Summerall and the Green Wave this week like I was hoping to, just because of storm dynamics really shaking up the week quite a bit. But this is a team that I think we talked about it last week, looking at some of their recent matchups against Power 4 teams, and we saw it again against Kansas State. They're at a point where they feel like they, and rightfully so, can match up against high-end competition from anywhere in the country, that there's, they're going to be able to match up on the field with most teams. And an Oklahoma team that they had a chance, nearly shocked a couple years ago, and an Oklahoma team that comes into this game after having to scratch and claw and battle its way out of a 16-12 win against a Houston team that's not expected to be great this year by any stretch of the imagination. And so, man, I don't know. I would say it'll be interesting to see how the young quarterback and other guys shake back from that disappointment at the end, but I thought they shook back really well toward the end of that game. It'll be interesting to see how they now go on the road to a hostile environment and handle some of these things. But I mean, I don't know how it's going to end up, but I think Tulane is going to go up there and battle, and it should be a really interesting game.
I don't want to, just because I feel like I keep picking Tulane, and I'm going to do it again. That Houston team is not very good, and they barely got it out of that by the skin of their teeth. Now maybe they come back and they learn from their mistakes, but I sure hope they don't. So I'm picking Green Wave.
Yeah. So have we started picks already? Did we both say that we're picking Okay, so we both are picking LSU at this point.
Yeah, I said that off the jump.
Yeah,
and then you kind of said like you'll think they got it through, so you'll think that they'll.
Yeah.
So I took that as it, but I'm sorry.
Sure.
Wait, what? Hold on 1 second, people. What? Jarrett, who are you picking? LSU or the other USC? Are we going to beat a USC this time?
Well, I'm not going to call them USC for starters, but I do think that LSU will go out there and win. I think it's probably something that's going to be ugly early and maybe ugly for 4 quarters, but that LSU will have enough firepower to overcome whatever South Carolina is able to manage against LSU's defense still trying to come together and find its identity.
Love it. I booked it. I put it on the sheet. It's LSU. It's probably up here somewhere for you. It's up that way. It's round yonder. I know. I'm doing great today. So next up, Tulane, Oklahoma. Who you got?
I'm taking Oklahoma. I hate it. I really would love Tulane to go up there and win that game. I think Oklahoma shakes back at home, and that Tulane, as I said, will battle, but that Oklahoma is able to pull it out. And I really hoped that Tulane could split the Kansas State and Oklahoma games, and I think they had that K-State game there for the taking and let it slip away from them. And I don't know that they're going to get as prime of an opportunity on the road up there in Norman.
There we go. All right. Our first split on the day. I think they still do split the K-State Oklahoma series. So
I hope so, man. I really enjoy that Tulane team. I mean, the Tulane team in recent years under Coach Fritz, and have been really excited to see Summerall back in New Orleans and some of the things they're doing early on in his tenure. It's going to be an interesting Saturday for those guys.
All right. And next up, we got Louisiana Tech at NC State. That is going to be at 11 a.m. as well. All these 11 a.m. games. Jeez. 11 a.m. It's going to be on ACC Network if you're looking to view it. NC State coming off just getting shellacked by Tennessee. It wasn't even close. There was no conception that they were going to win that game.
Wow.
But I am going to go with NC State over this. I don't think they were as bad as they played last week. And I think they just kind of overpower Louisiana Tech just from a power conference to a non-power conference team. So,
yeah, I saw some of the Louisiana Tech folks talking about if they could go out there and get this win, you have to start looking at them as a G5 playoff contender type situation. I guess fairly so if they can pull it off. I don't think they do. I think last week against Tennessee was less about North Carolina State not being good and more about Tennessee being real good.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think NC State will get the best of this one.
Absolutely. All right. Next up, we've got a ranked matchup here. 24 Boston College is going to Mizzou, number 6. That is 11:45. Whoa.
Oh, look getting late in the day.
Yes. And that's going to be on the SEC Network. Right in time for lunch. So
this weekend's, especially as we record this on Friday and we leave out the Friday night game, this weekend's schedule is not great around the country. No. And that's part of why an LSU South Carolina game is your college game day destination. But
is it really?
Yeah.
I thought they would go. But I mean, yeah, I thought they would go up to Camp Randolph, which we will cover that later. And I mean, it feels like the most intriguing game just in looking at it, because listen, regards to Boston College and Mizzou, but no one really ever wants to watch either of your teams play. So,
but hey, maybe the best matchup in terms of the rankings.
Yeah.
Theoretically, the best matchup of the day. I'm not overly enthusiastic about that as a top ranked matchup on my Saturday early in the season, but I'm not going to be surprised either way this thing goes. The way BC is starting the season, and they went into the season with a little bit of buzz as kind of a sneaky ACC team and have started off well. I'm going to go ahead and say that Mizzou at home is able to hold down the fort, put up some points, and get out of this thing though. But
yeah, I just think Mizzou's offense is going to carry him.
Yeah, I'll be watching a lot of these
Shooter.
Louisiana teams, so I don't have to worry about watching that thing too closely. But
yeah. So there's so much. You'll already be neck deep, waist deep in 2 11 a.m. games at that point. Okay, we've got Louisiana Tech and South Carolina, and maybe another one coming up soon. I hated that I did that. All right. I'm also going Mizzou. Next up, Southern at Jackson State. That is a 6 p.m. game. It's ESPN Plus if you're looking to watch it. You can do it there unless you have DirecTV, and then you're just screwed. Anyway, I'm going to go with Southern here.
Yeah, this is going to be another one where we split and where I'm the bad guy. Jackson State at home. This series, it has been a good rivalry through the years, but it seems like rather than trading back and forth, they kind of go in waves. And Southern had won 8 straight. Now Jackson State's won 4 straight. I think Jackson State, that season opening loss to ULM and battling ULM looks that much better after ULM's win last week against UAB. Southern, meanwhile, off to a tough start to the season, a quarterback change this week. I really hope all the best for the former Scotlandville star, Zay Tset, who was so fun to cover multiple sports throughout his high school career. And now he's going to get a shot at leading that Jags offense, and looking forward to his career. But I think, his first go at it on the road in a big rivalry game, I don't know if he's going to be able to turn the tide on the way that series has been.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of at least for a 1-game sample size of that quarterback change. But because if it went so poorly that was it, for the most part, then that happens. Someone gets benched, new kid comes in. There's usually just a little bit of a jolt of electricity, and that's kind of what I'm leaning on here. No, I don't have any X's and O's takes. I really don't ever. But if I'm going with my gut, I think that may propel. Hey, this is kind of a new season type feel going into that game.
Yeah.
And that could, I think that will push him over the edge. But hey, what do I know? I'll probably be wrong. So bet with Jared.
I haven't been up to the Bluff to see those guys or anything, but just knowing Zay for whatever now 4 years or so, he is a smart, tough kid that guys will gravitate around, and I could certainly see that being the case. That there's kind of a nice burst of enthusiasm and rallying opportunity and whatnot to get excited to follow him.
I hope so. Hey, let's go Jaguars. All right. Next up, Bama is going to Wisconsin. They're going to Camp Randall. They're not going. I have some thoughts about this, but it's a 11 a.m. game. It's going to be on Fox. I told you there's going to be another 11 a.m. game, guys. Let's go. Obviously, Bama is the favorite. I believe they're like a 16-point favorite right now. As LSU saw a couple of years ago, and I think it was different being in Lambeau with a lot of those kids at Wisconsin being possibly the only time they were ever going to get to play in Lambeau Field, which is a huge deal for these corn-fed boys up here. There's just something different about going into Wisconsin and then playing there. I think Alabama will win, but I think Wisconsin will cover. So if I'm looking at something, I would probably bet on the 16 because something about Wisconsin is always just annoying and they will always hang around a lot longer than you think they should. We saw that to the point where they won the game a couple of years ago. So that's what I'm going to go with. The kind of why I wanted to bring that up today is while I think that Bama takes the W, I think it's a lot closer than that 16 points. And I think it's maybe we might get to see what is Jalen Milroe going to do in a hostile situation because Camp Randall can get very loud. It's not Bryant Denny or anything, but for an opposing quarterback, what are you going to do when they start playing jump around in the fourth quarter and the stadium's rocking and maybe you're only up by 3 and Wisconsin has the ball, they go down and score. And now we got to see what Jalen Milroe is actually capable of and what that new coaching staff is going to do in a kind of dogfight like that.
This was a Daniel Hawks special pick. It wasn't on the original list. And he said, I want to talk Bama Badgers this week. Okay.
I said it like
And
that too.
I agree with a lot of what you're
Bama,
saying.
Badgers, Battlestar
Battlestar
Galactica.
Galactica. That game last week, the Bama Bulls of South Florida game last week was a lot more of a dogfight than that 42-16 final score would lead one to believe. Bama was just battling to try and get some rhythm and blow that thing open the way they did late. And so it'll be interesting to see them going up there to a, arguably a tougher matchup and certainly a tougher environment and whatnot. I think that may be the way that they finished that game against South Florida. They kind of found some things and they can kind of build on that a little bit. Every time I say a B word now, I feel like I'm supposed to shout it. But I do think Bama goes up there.
You
And beat,
can. There's no rule saying you can't. So
I do think Bama goes up there and beats the Badgers and gets another win. Let's just move on.
Oh man! So Bama beats the Badgers in a blistering vortex of bins.
Just go to the next one.
So last. We're the stupidest show on your feed for sure.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of internet out there.
I said on your feed, feed.
On mine. Oh yeah.
On the specifically on the Louisiana versus all y'all feed. All right.
That was a pretty good point.
That was a pretty. I'm trying to come back from my. I screwed up earlier. All right. Next up, we've got Saints at the Cowboys. This is going to be our NFL game, or we always want to cover the Saints game for this weekend. It's going to be at noon. It's going to be on Fox. If you have Sunday ticket and you're not in Louisiana, you can watch it there. All right. Saints coming off a big win. Dallas coming off a big win. I don't know. I want to believe that this was, the Saints did what they were supposed to do with a bad team. The Cowboys did what they were supposed to do as contenders and beat a team that is just a defense and Deshaun Watson's sexual assault allegations. So they went and did that. I lean towards Micah Parsons just being that dude and Derek Carr being really crappy under pressure. And it's not going to be like Carolina where he's going to be upright a lot. But I don't think Dallas can run on the Saints team, on that Saints front seven. I just don't think they'll be able to do it with the personnel that they have between like old man pickup Zeke and Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn. I don't think Dalvin Cook has been brought up from the practice squad yet. So, and even if he was, I don't think he's going to do that. So does that kind of put Dallas in a game script where New Orleans can maybe make this competitive? Because also just the whole Saints defense, I had said the front seven, but the whole Saints defense are really, really good and really talented. And Dennis Allen, for a lot of his, lesser points, is a fantastic defensive coach. And that side of the ball has never been in question while he's been with the Saints team. So I'm going to pick Dallas. Again, I'm going against the Saints, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I keep picking the other team, and that's just the good luck charm for them all year.
You asked if kind of the script that you laid out could be such that it ends up being a pretty tight competitive game that the Saints have a chance in, and I think so. I think this week, though, more so than last week, and I think this has always been the case, is more of where we start to figure out who this year's Saints team is, that this is a more realistic gauge of that. And I think looking at the Cowboys, you could say similarly about them, that I think last week's win against Cleveland is more a matter of the Browns being worse than people thought they were than it is about the Cowboys being world beaters. And so this could be a really fun matchup. The Saints and Cowboys have historically had some great matchups where even at times where one team looks much better theoretically on the season than the other, the team that's not supposed to be as good is able to win a little bit of an out of division rivalry type matchup, the regional dynamics, fans not liking each other, all those things. I think that is much more encouraged by the Saints as I was last week than I expected to be, that I do still expect Dallas to be the better team this season. And I think that this is one that is going to be a Cowboys win, that while the Saints have a chance, certainly, that if I'm putting money on it, I'm looking at Dallas.
And, we're going to do this again because last week I hit. If you're looking for a fantasy player to play, I think Taysom Hill this is going to be a Taysom Hill game. I think you get him involved. I think you got to do some stuff that isn't just line them up and smash mouth. And obviously you're going to start Alvin Kamara if you're doing fantasy. Excuse me. Rashid Shaheed had a great showing last week as well, which I called that. But I think you have this utility knife in a game like this where you kind of want to show off what you have versus a definite playoff and Super Bowl contender. That you want to use some of the tricks in your bag, and he is the epitome of a trick in your bag. So if you're looking for someone to throw in there that's off the beaten path for fantasy, maybe you're doing some daily, I would go in on Taysom Hill, and let's see if I can keep this streak going. I lost the point streak, but I can hold steady on our fantasy player of the week. So
if this Saints offense looks anything close to as comfortable and confident as they did a week ago in terms of the offensive line looking solid, Derek Carr looking comfortable and confident and spreading the ball around well, then I start to buy it an awful lot after this matchup.
Also Foster Moreau too, if we are kind of talking about that and just doing a light fantasy gig. If you are, tight end's been so down bad this year. If you are have one of those tight ends that really didn't perform, throw Foster Moreau on your bench. If he again has another solid outing, that's kind of what we're looking for as a baseline for tight end this year. If you're looking in it fantasy wise, and Foster Moreau is listed as the first tight end on this team. He will be getting looks. Derek Carr likes to go to the tight end. He has his entire career. So throw him on your bench. At the very worst, he doesn't do anything this week. You can drop him for someone on waiver wires next week. So a little fantasy corner for you right there.
We'll go ahead and clip this segment and add it to your reel for the fantasy sports jobs that you're going to be applying for over the next couple of years, I'm sure.
I would love that. That would be great.
You're sneaking in some real reps in there.
Hey, we love to see it. And you know what we also love to see? We love to see kids making highlight plays. And Zion Russ did that this week. He was our winner for our high school play of the week. The dude got from literally like Chalmette to the end zone in 6 seconds. It was unbelievable. All right.
He ran away with the vote in a hurry as well. I don't remember what the totals ended up being, but he was up in the 60s percentages of the votes in terms of the actual poll. In a 4-man vote was up over 60%. And in terms of the comments that were flowing in too, there was a lot of hype for Zion.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for going out and showing out love on the PODnas Instagram feed. Also shout out to Big Irv Smith. He got a bunch of votes in there as well. He was probably second on the voting tier. We will come at you next week on the early week show with our plays of the week again. We'd love to see you go on our social vote. We want to interact with you. We loved how much you guys have gotten in there as well. I even had someone shout out my old bench warming career at U High on there as well. So thank you guys so much for doing that. We can't wait to bring more of you next week. That's all I got for us today. Jared, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Hitting the road for it looks like a couple of Lafayette-based high school football games, but looking forward to the next couple of days. And as we talked about at the beginning, just kind of getting back into a normal flow where it's not wondering what the hell is going to be moving around all week like this week was. So keep up on the channel for some Karen Crow LCA, and looks like St. Aug Cecilia. I'd put that one up for a vote on the site as well. And
awesome.
That's the way it started to go for Saturday night.
Well, hey, check out the Louisiana versus All Y'all YouTube page. That's where you're going to find all your needs for Louisiana recruiting, Louisiana sports, all Louisiana all the time. Go to the PODnas_LA on Instagram. Follow us there. Check out the content. Like it, don't like it, just send it to people. If you don't like it, send it to people you hate, and we still get a view off of that. So please like, comment on this video, share it. We want to hear from you. We want to hear where we were wrong, where we were right, and we will see you next time. PODnas out.
And it's a ticket talking margin for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, comma and a